Welcome back. In just a few hours, it will be International Women's Day. And of course, you know, we try to cover all grounds on the show. And that's why we started talking to women, especially those in business. And we've been joined on the program by these incredible women who have been doing business in this very harsh economy. So we're trying to do a couple of things together. First, we'll get a feel of what it is to be a business person, a small or medium-sized business owner in this very economy. We've been joined in our Lagos studio by the CEO, Oludit, as well as she's also the CEO of Corporate. I hope I pronounced that well. Corporate. Yes, that's what I had to ask. Ms. Banke Adeniran, thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Also joining us right here in the studio is a member of the Ogbonge Women Small Scale Women Farmers Association. This is Mrs. Zara Suleiman. Thank you for coming on the program.
It's a pleasure being here.
And in our Colonel studio, we're being joined by the founder of Wild Test Enterprise Inc. Also, she's the coordinator of SDGs, Ms. Amina Ibrahim. Ms. Ibrahim, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, fantastic. I want to welcome all of you together. Sometime when we throw this question, it's going to be a conversation. I don't want to look at it as an interview, so you can jump in at any point to just have your say on an issue. Because for us, you know, if you go to school, they do project and thesis and all of that. This is our primary source of data because you guys are the ones doing the business. So it's not secondary source. So whatever you tell us is what is going to resonate with a lot of people in your spaces. So let me start with you, Banke, on this particular one. How's it been doing business? And first, what kind of business do you do? And how's it been doing the business in this economy? Because we're taking, this is data for us.
I know. You're literally in the field right now doing Vox Populi. My name is Banke Adeniran, and I run a number of businesses, some that I founded, some that I'm privileged to oversee, including Oludit, Corporate, Easy Print, Easy Logistics, Easy Mart, and it cuts across different sectors. So there's who I am, who has enabled me to run these businesses, and I can answer the question from how has he been running business as a human being, or how has he been running a business as a woman, and then how has he been running a business in this economy. There are different sides to it, but the important thing is staying afloat, finding different ways to reinvent, staying profitable, and just serving, really. That's how it has been. If you want me to give you a summary of how it's been, that's literally how it's been.
Okay. Maybe let's come to you, the Ogbonge woman. That's why I choose to call you this morning. I'm sure you've had conversations, especially this period where we talk about and talk with farmers, and it's been a lot of issue. We're having a challenge, and sometimes we're worried about whether we're diagnosing the problem rightly as far as food security is concerned. So what's your perspective on what's going on? How are you guys managing this economy?
Okay, thanks for having me here. And I'm very happy that I have the opportunity to speak to the world. For farmers, since maybe the COVID, it has been very tough. Most of the farmers have lost everything. I'm an Ogbonge woman, a member of small-scale women farmers organization in Nigeria. We're all over the 36 states in Nigeria, including the FCT. In my cluster in Lagos, we are almost 400 farmers, women farmers, both crop, livestock farmers. So we are able to know what is going on in all sectors of the farming, both livestock and crop farming. It has not been funny for farmers. Since the COVID, most of the farmers lost everything due to the natural disasters. Like myself, I'm a pig farmer. I'm into poultry farming. Of course, you know, farmers, I'm in a cluster estate, the largest settlement in West Africa for piggery. I have my poultry farm, doing other little things along. But the COVID came and it, even the aquaculture, the crop farmers, the pig farmers, even the rabbit farmers, most of their products were eroded due to natural disaster, as in virus springing up for the pig farmers, for example, even the rabbit farmers. So it has not been funny for women farmers, okay? And look at the security issues too. Most of the farmers, especially the crop farmers, they need vigilante to escort them to plant, to harvest. Making even cost of running this business very expensive for them. okay? And cells, preservation, processing, roads, access to your farm. All these things are challenges for women especially. I was discussing with my lady while there, talking to her about, okay, staffing. The youths are not ready to come into farming. They are not even ready to work for farmers. Why? Because the farmers need to upgrade their volume of activities for you to be able to say, okay, I want to pay you, right? I want to pay you for your service. I need to do volume job to be able to entice the youth of today to come into the farming business.
All right, let's go to our Kano studio, Ms. Ibrahim. I don't know what the narrative is for you because we're going to go into specifics. This is just something. We're going to go into specifics. What's the narrative for you? I'm positing it in this economy where inflation is at 29.9. Let's call it 30. What it is. 35% food inflation and all of that. What is it for people, especially women in the north, as far as this economy is concerned?
Thank you very much for this question. I'll be speaking from the perspective of a small business owner and a woman in the north. I'm into the food and clothing business, and it hasn't been funny, like my sister said over there. We're trying to stay afloat, you're trying to make profits, and you still want to be in business because this is what keeps you going. This is what sustains you. So with this present economy, it hasn't been, cost of production has been very high. Your customers don't want to understand that your price of today is different from the price of tomorrow. So it has been very difficult for young women in the north. For myself personally, I run my business from home. The plan was to move out, to expand in 2024, get a place outside my home, but it has been very difficult with the task and the cost of rent and the cost of production. So I just have to still remain in my comfort zone, just do the business from home and do it online, since I cannot expand and move out of my comfort zone. So it hasn't been easy in the present economy for small business owners in the North generally. And I believe I speak for every small business owner who is a lady, who is a woman in the North.
Yeah, Mrs. Ibrahim, I'll come back to you. And I have a specific question for you, Mrs. Sulaiman, as far as farming is concerned. But as Jeffrey said, let's begin to break it down into specifics now. You know, when it comes to the big manufacturing sector or MSMEs, there's always this conversation about multiple taxes. So I'd like you to speak to us, you know, one by one about multiple taxation. And, you know, what goes into production for you? Either you're buying petrol, you know, to keep the business running, if you're into machines and all of that. Starting with you, Banke.
Thank you. So it will be interesting to note that I'm currently new in the Lagos terrain. My business has been in Abuja for 10 years, and now we're venturing into Lagos. Quite a peculiar year to venture into a new terrain, actually, because there's a lot of uncertainty. But thankfully, we're staying afloat, like I mentioned earlier, and we're able to acquire by privilege a new property to be able to do business in. So getting to understand the multiple taxation system in Lagos is very new to me. I may not be able to comment on that accurately because business operation right now is kicking off in Lagos. But then as a small business owner or as a growing business owner, I like to say that I'm a growing business owner. I mean, it's medium, it's small, it's micro, it gets small, and then it's a growing business to a very large business. So there are obviously a number of issues. You have people just walking into your store or your space to demand of something that you may have already paid. You have people that are, and the inconsistency in the data available. So you may have remitted this, but then it's not showing on this platform. I mean, those are challenges that Nigerian business owners face generally, and it's peculiar to different industries, but then you can pretty much say that everybody's digging from the same well, and everybody's affected by the same kind of water that is coming out of it. I think it's just the Nigerian system, but we're a resilient people, so come what may, we always find ways to survive. We always find ways to come out on top. And even though things right now are different than we're used to, I mean, would you imagine that March 2024 is the month that dollar exchange rate will be hitting 1,800, 1,700, and I wonder what really is going on. And it doesn't even affect only a specific number of people. It affects everything, because even though you're not importing, you're probably going to buy something that is a direct effect of importation, and you have to cough out more money from your pocket to do what you need to do. But then it's finding out ways to reinvent, finding out ways to consistently stay afloat, because we're a resilient people in Nigeria, and regardless of whether we are suffering from multiple taxation or inflated prices or, you know, just that unpredictability of, because my business is in retail sector, it cuts across different industries. There's the FCMG for Easy Mart. There's the creative industry where we manufacture gift and stationery products, but we directly do retail. But so when you start a new week with a certain price, hoping that by the time you're due for a restock, you can restock at that price, but a little further down the line, something has changed, and you have to quickly adapt. Although prices are not that sticky when it comes to adjustments in that way. You can't just wake up one morning and then say, "Oh, I'm changing the prices." It used to be that way, but now you have to, because you have to consider, oh, in a week, I'm due for a restock. So if at this current sales price that we bought the items from the market, we would not be able to maintain the same amount if we're going to order a fresh restock from the market, especially when it comes to the FCMG. You have to adapt quickly. Right. So what we even try to do at different times is to not even put prices of products out, because you put a price, someone holds you to it, and then you have to explain that, oh, sorry, it has changed, though.
So
it's just the flexibility.
Kind of business now.
No, we have a supermarket at Easy Mart, so you have to walk in. But you'd expect that a supermarket, you see prices displayed on the shelves.
Yeah.
And for the gift and stationery business, that's Olu did it. You expect that you'd also see prices, and then there's obviously the online sales point. So you'd expect the prices to be transparently displayed. But you know that's going to put you in trouble, because you may not be able to afford to get something else done at that other price. So there's a lot of flexibility and unpredictability. That's why it's needed. It's a lot to take in.
I imagine you want to come in.
Yeah.
This one.
Yes, for farmers, it's even worse, okay? Because for farmers, for example, talking about inputs, talking about your seedlings, talking about trying to buy inputs for your livestock. You know, by the time you get to the store and you're like, okay, I bought SBM soya beans meal, so amount yesterday, and today I want to buy is at higher price. Okay, and what do? Your livestock must eat. So you either reduce what you are purchasing, the quantity you are doing at that time. And when you talk about livestock feeding, it's not about I'm not going to feed today or because there's no money. So the challenge is so massive that we really need, in fact, sometimes I just wonder what the federal government is doing regarding the Malabo agreement of 10% budget for farmers. Because we need access to all these benefits for us to even stay afloat. Nigerians are resilient, yes, but it's tough at this time, even diesel. I have a feed mill, for example. I cannot start my generator for about a year now.
What?
I cannot use it. And there's no electricity, of course.
So what alternatives have you resorted to? So
the business has gone down.
That's that section of your business.
Yes, because you need to wait for when the light comes on to be able to even do as little as trying to crush for the farmers. That's what I do there. You crush for the farmers, you produce feed. You cannot even produce feed when the input is so much. So we need to talk to our government at this point. The women are not, our attentions are not being given to the women. Even the girl education, women education. Now we're saying invest in women. Acceleration for progress. Where is the investment? Where is the support from the federal government? Lagos State, for example, has been doing very greatly, very excellently for women. In fact, most of the commissioner, the PS, they know some of us by face because they interact with us. They come to us. They ask us questions. You understand? They project for us yearly. But we are so many. I just told you my cluster, only in Lagos, we're about 400 women doing one business or the other. So we are looking up to the federal government executing this Malabo, agreement for women for 10% inclusion of our budget. So that we get to us, we'll be able to okay, we are comfortable doing business. So we are resilient, but we cannot even, like myself, I can only take my vehicle to the farm occasionally when I have to carry loads, because fueling it and looking at what I will get when I get to the farm is not equating.
Very quickly, what about taxes in your locality and how you transport your farm produce to the market?
Okay, that was why I mentioned about processing. It's a challenge for farmers because some of us, we do perishable goods. We need to be able to translate it into a finished product for your supermarkets, right? Do get. So the roads are terrible, the roads are bad. Okay? Then processing facilities for women, especially, it's the women that are more it. Even now the men are at home. Some of the men are at home because some of their businesses are, running down. So we need to feel our minister. We need to be able to even say, our minister is talking to us. Our minister is asking, because when you are talking about inclusion for women, making policies.
Right.
You do get.
And I just need to break this down further. I know we've had that conversation time and again, how we always look to federal alone, but we forget that there are different layers. So I'm curious to know what your local government has been doing, if you have some sort of interface, if the local government is even present in any way for your business, the state government as well, and before we talk about the federal government, we know the federal wields the most power. But let me go to Amina Ibrahim, who, by the way, I should say joins us virtually from Kaduna. I mean, you were shaking your head. I saw you. You were really into this, agreeing with what they were saying. And I'd like to hear your story. The president was in Qatar telling investors, prospective investors, that, you know what, if you have any issues, revert to us. We'll sort you out. And I know a lot of business owners in Nigeria are like, we need to revert to you, President. So we have issues that we have on our minds. And that's why we're having this conversation. So if a president were watching right now and you want to revert to him, what would you be reverting to? The president, the governors, the local government chairman, all of the people in government.
Okay, I was actually nodding my head because I could relate to the farmer when she was speaking, because like I said, I deal with the food industry. So from the farmers down to us, it's been, and she mentioned fuel, diesel, fuel. For me, I need to store my produce, I need to store my raw materials before I translate it into edible food for you and I, for my customers. So it's been very difficult. And like I mentioned earlier, I do my business from home, so I need delivery service. And delivery is, in fact, sometimes the delivery cost is more than what you're buying. So you just feel, what is the need? So you mentioned multiple taxation. Yes, before I got into this business, I spoke to already established businesses. And the task, in fact, that was what even discouraged me from moving out of my house, because there's multiple taxations. They come today for this, they come tomorrow, and you're so confused. You don't know where the money is going and who is even tasking you. And for the intervention, I believe over 60% of business owners are women, because we are really into business now. There's been this wide, how do I put this? Of women going into business, because we are now coming out. We now want to be able to support our family. We now want to be able to support our community. So I would say the government should, you mentioned the local government, the state government first before the federal government. The government can create inclusion programs. We can push these women into tech, because now tech has come to stay. So how they can use technology to enhance their businesses, their different businesses, how to advertise, how to sell their produce online without a walk-in store. For women who don't have a walk-in store, you have to sell online. So I believe they can also give out grants for small business owners, just to boost their productivity and to assist the business. I would just like to say this. There's something the government normally do when they want to do intervention. They just push things out without evaluating, without asking. So I believe if the government can talk to women, like, what are you currently doing? What do you need? They don't ask us what we need. They just say, we've empowered 5,000 women, we've empowered, and you don't see the empowerment anywhere. I think these empowerment programs are not reaching the people who really need them. you should talk to us. We are the people who need these interventions. Talk to us. Let us tell you what we need. Then you give us what we need. From there, I believe we can tackle this issue of
Let me come to Banker quickly on this one. The IMF. I know when these things make the news, a lot of people just look away because they're like, I don't interface with the IMF. So when World Bank, IMF give all of that, a lot of people don't pay attention. But of late, IMF has been saying the federal government needs to take off, the cap on petrol. That's remove subsidy on electricity as well. And so if we don't do that, we're going to lose about 7 trillion of our GDP, and that's a huge chunk, 3% or thereabout. And I don't know if, as a business person, how that hits you. Because on the one hand, we're going to lose from those projections, we're going to lose 3% GDP. On the other hand, people are saying we're going through tough times. How dare you even consider something like this? The MSMEs, you employ about 80% or even more of people, basically. I hope I got that figure correctly. So when you hear that, what comes to mind? Yes, employing over 80%. When you hear what the IMF is saying, those recommendations, are you good with it? Or you're thinking, no way?
My background in economics, my first degree was in economics, helps me to understand what you just said, way more than just surface level. But what the average Nigerian is concerned about is, okay, whatever policy you want to put in place, what does it mean on the market? What does it mean in the market? What does it mean on the street? Right now, we're battling. I don't like to comment a lot on Nigerian economy because it gets into a point where, like I said, I have a background in economics. I'm able to understand a lot of things more than just surface level and what is being reported. So when I really get into it and understand what is going on, there's a lot of uncertainty. Like, okay, so this is going on, but I don't see that this is a counter policy to take care and to cater to the effect of this. So when the subsidy off of petroleum was taking off, and we woke up into it, and it's so on the market. You have routes because now I'm an employer. I'm grateful to be able to employ a number of people in business, and the initial month was serious because we had people who, from home to work, would maybe spend 1,000 naira, and suddenly on the same routes they're spending about 2,500 naira. And you want to be a kind employer and create a form of cushion for the people that are coming to work, because you don't want people coming to work every day and then the next day they're not able to afford to come to work. So in the first month we did we did a flat rate increment in salary. We just passed the information that this is just to soften the blow of this. We'd eventually figure out how this is going to be, but just take this for now. We did that across the entire staff strength. And by the second month, we realized, actually in the middle of the first month, we realized that the magnanimous thing that we did was not immediately sustainable, because you have to check out how it reflects on the bottom line. So are we making enough profit to offset this increase in salary? And if we do, can we consistently do that? Because it's one thing to tease someone with bread when the person is hungry. It's another thing to be able to give the person bread again tomorrow when the person is hungry, because hunger doesn't, you can't quench hunger forever. You have to keep feeding. You have to keep feeding. So when we realize that, okay, this is not sustainable, we have to now find ways to make sure that the bottom line is increased. But then you're selling to a population that is enduring or suffering from the same kind of issues. So you have people now because I run different businesses, I can give you different examples across different sectors. So for the creative industry, where my gift and stationery manufacturing business is situated, gifting is not a need, it's a want. I mean, if it wasn't clear enough during the COVID year, when only essential staff were given access to move around town, I mean, I'm sure that was like a jump into reality for most of us, because the rest of us who were not running essential businesses were at home, fully locked down in April 2020, the month that there was full lockdown. So when you realize that something is not in need, it's not food. If you don't buy a gift for someone today, you most likely will be fine. You'll sleep fine. You'll wake up fine tomorrow morning. It's rise and early. It's a beautiful day. It may be a hot day considering the climate right now. But then what I'm trying to say is that life continues. So but then because it's a want and it's a nice to have, if it's your birthday and you get something nice, if you feel good, you feel remembered, you feel valued. But there's a percentage of the average spender's salary that is kept aside for frivolities. I mean, after the major things like housing, your transportation, your feeding, and then you can now see, okay, what percentage is left to be able to service my frivolities? Okay, so maybe you like to take a holiday, maybe you like to buy a nice gift for someone, but you find out that the average customer's disposable income is shrinking. Not because they feel like it, but because other things are taken. And even if they have a car, so maybe they're not taking public transport, even if they have a car, you go to a filling station, and where you could buy fuel at a certain price before the time, it's suddenly times X, where X is dependent on the fluctuation in the economy. So you have to find out that, oh, okay, so how do we make sure that we continue to take more money from people to sustain this business that we're running, and also nurture the people that are working to make sure the business is alive, because without the staff, you really can't have a business altogether. So when there's one more new policy, I'm talking about affecting the bottom line, affecting the disposable income of people, how much more money people are able to spend or keep in their pocket, then you have to make sure that that's sitting on a base that can handle it.
Okay. So, because there's a lot you're saying, and all of you are saying, and that's why I say you're our primary source of data today. So we deliberately allow you to talk so that the people in authority can hear. So that in case they said they sent 100 million to Lagos, these are the people that should receive the money. They're not seeing it from the federal level.
That's what I wanted to
just before you call me, because Kayode had mentioned something.
Right.
The obsession about GDP in economics is the fact that it's expected to, when they say it's high, it means productivity is high. And now taking out the things, because our fundamentals are faulty, which is why the economics here defies economic logic, basically. So which is why we're asking you the question. Because the IMF is saying remove this, remove that, because productivity is supposed to come up. But now you are the practitioners, you are the professionals in this space. Productivity is actually going down, if I'm correct. Now, so what advisory or what advice you have to give to the federal government or the state government to say, okay, you remove this subsidy and you may be removing more, but you're killing us. We may get FPIs, which may run out in 6 months if the economy tanks, but we're the ones that will stay in this economy no matter what happens. What should be the direction of government right now? Let's talk solutions.
Okay, sir. Seriously, you were like, if I'm to speak to the president, we've come as farmers, we've come to understand, because we follow news, we follow trends, we've come to understand that, well, the subsidy has to be removed, but we look up to where our leaders will talk to us, where our leaders will explain to us what's their plan. We listen to us, just as my sister over there just said, listen to us. And you see, when you are talking about intervention, we expect where the government will come to the cluster. We've come to cluster ourselves as women. We've come to bring ourselves together. Do you understand? So when you are saying there's a federal intervention, who is it directed to? Which clusters? So me, I'm looking up to where the government will be able to reach out to women cluster groups directly. Okay? Like now we are talking about women-friendly machineries for production. We have agreed, okay, subsidy is being removed, the time is being tough, encourage us to work. We have the ability to work. Some of us have our structures already in place. Some of us have lost, just as I said, we've lost our working capital. We've lost even our investments. So what is the government now doing to relate to us one-on-one at that point? Not we have 5,000 women have been empowered, women have been offered 500,000, each woman farmer should assess 500,000, which we have not even seen.
Let me quickly follow up on that. At the onset of the administration, during the announcement of distribution of palliatives, government also incorporated distribution of fertilizers in that program. You talk about your cluster being in different states of the federation. Did any of your cluster in any of those states get those fertilizer that government announced was going to be distributed?
Well, not to my knowledge, because when you said we're empowering these people, it should be impactful. Okay, it should be impactful to the farmers. If we are 100 people sitting, at least 50 people assess these things. You know, there's no how when you give to a farmer, it affects them like that.
So Obonge farmers didn't get any of the palliatives?
They get some, mostly from the Lagos state government. Federal presence is not felt in our group at all.
So,
Amina, would you like to contribute to that? Perhaps you could share experience from the Kano perspective.
I said it all because, as you can see, I was just agreeing with her. When you mention intervention, get it to the right people. They just come in, you just hear figures and numbers, but you never, we are the business people. I don't mind not getting, but at least let's hear from our mates. Let's hear people say, I got this from the government, I got this from the government. Like she said, none that she knows of. If at least you give 60%, you will feel the impact that 60% of these people got this intervention. And also the government can also come up with policies. Yes, you've removed subsidy from petroleum products. Subsidize other things, subsidize machinery, subsidize fertilizers, subsidize other things so that it will cushion the effects of the removal of the subsidy from petroleum products. So yes, I agree with her that the intervention should be sent to the right people. Speak to us. Come down to our level. Let us tell you what we want. Let us show you the way. Let's give you the map of where to take those interventions to.
You know, the AFDB president yesterday, Dr. Akume Additional, was talking about how Africa is a solution for Africa, or Africa is Africa's solution. Yeah. I'm not sure how a lot of people are leaving that out, particularly because a lot of people are leaving, right?
Nice play of words.
Exactly. So I'm just curious how, particularly for you people, what you believe you are the solution for Africa. Your business is a solution. And I don't know how many opportunities you've had to jackpot in that sense. Maybe you can share with us. But if we're going to latch onto that, because we always encourage ourselves, we're resilient people who will solve our own problems, so we can do this, Nigeria forever, and all of that. But we need to really achieve that. So speak to us about how you can become Africa's solution. Are you now trying to innovate as a business? I don't know if you can do online. You can't plant online, can you? Because we're talking online. But what are the, you can do soil. So what are the innovations you're introducing so that we can also encourage businesses out there? You're still trying to stay afloat in spite of all of the challenges. So maybe some businesses can learn from you how you're innovating and becoming that solution. I know there's strength in power. We always believe in our women. That's why we're doing this. So speak to us about some of the innovations you're hoping to champion to ensure that we solve our problems.
I like what you said about you're living in Africa, but people are leaving or something like that. It was a nice play of words. Let me mention something about the question you asked earlier, well, the previous thought that we're threading about the government policy. So there's policy that is good on paper, and there's policy that is also good physically in reality. Now, if I was going to fit something, say maybe your iPad on, the point of the iPad is to carry, the destination is maybe that door. I need to take this from here to that door, but I need to carry it. If you told me, oh, put it in your jacket because you have a pocket, it's good, it's a solution, but you have to consider, oh, does the size of my pocket, is the size of my pocket big enough to fit the size of that iPad so I could transport it from point A to point B? So when you see a policy that is good on paper, it could be synonymous with, okay, just put that in your pocket because you imagine that I have a pocket that can pick it up. But when you consider that, okay, that size of iPad is too big for my pocket, you want to consider other means of transporting that same iPad from point A to point B. So when you have a policy that is good on paper, you want to consider that the economy is able to receive it. There's no way that you can cause a newborn baby to run. I mean, children should at some point be able to crawl and be able to run. But if you're tasking a baby with, okay, run from here to, the baby will not be able to run. It's a good thing, it's a good point that you're trying to make. But the baby is just not able to handle that. So when we have policies that are not fitting to the current situation on ground, you want to reconsider, okay, so what needs to move so that this can sit? Okay, so what do we need to adjust? What do we need to widen so that this can sit? And to also answer your question about Africa being the solution to the African problems, I don't disagree with that. everybody is taxed. I don't operate with an African mentality. I don't operate with a Nigerian mentality. I know that I'm in this system, but not necessarily of the system. And everybody, when God made you, there's no, okay, I'm only sending you to Africa and your solution is only, you can only be in Africa. So everybody should operate with the mindset that you're called to solve a global problem or to serve the world. So if you're here operating in Africa, one of the ways that we can begin to consider really exporting what it is that we have on our insides, to be able to earn and be able to, be alive and be a solution, like we're saying, is to position, okay, so what is it that you're doing right now? How is it that what you're doing can affect beneficially other people in the world? So,
yeah, just land on your thoughts. Okay. We're totally out of time. You can land on your thought quickly, just in 10 seconds.
Okay, so it's a global world. There's technology, there's the online business. There are different ways to reach out. So it's looking at what you're doing and seeing how other people can benefit, opening it up in that way. So you don't need to jackpot eventually. If you have to, fantastic. But you can be here and then serve the world.
All right, madam.
Okay, for the farmers.
30 seconds.
Okay, for the women farmers. Yes, sir. Like I said, we form ourselves into clusters. Yeah. We form ourselves into thrifts and loans.
Beautiful.
I look up to where the government will do a single digit, like a grant for these cluster groups. I look up to that, whereby the federal government will like, okay, this grant is going to Obonge women, small-scale women farmers in Lagos State or all over Nigeria, because we are already organized group and we have a structure in place, but the enablement is not enough.
I mean, let's come to you quickly, 30 seconds if you can.
Okay, I would just say, coming from an online vendor, I would say embrace technology. You don't have to own a working store. Embrace technology. Technology is here to stay. Just do your business online and...
All right, well, thank you so much, ladies. We can continue this for another 2 hours. One of the questions we wanted to ask, but we don't have time, was how this affects the quality of product at the end of the day, because it's a survival game. So I don't know how you're surviving with this, because some people will say, I reduce my quality so that I can survive. But we don't have time for all of that for now. Maybe some other time. It's International Women's Day tomorrow, so we celebrate all of you. Amina Ibrahim, founder, Wild Taste Enterprise, joining us from Kano Vazum. Thank you so much for coming. Banky Adeniro, CEO, Oludits, CEO.
Olu did it.
Olu did it.
Thank you.
Olu did it. And so many other things she does. The list is long. As well as the MC Zara Suleiman, member of the Obonge Women, Small Scale Women Farmers Association. All of you, thank you so much, ladies, for coming on the program. And we wish you the very best. Please keep that resilience and don't give up.
Thank you. Don't forget, Jeffrey, Happy International Women's Day.
Happy International Women's Day.
Okay.
So you had to do that, right? In fact, let's go.
Left out.
We'll have our day, maybe in 20 years.
We'll go on this quick break. When we come back, we'll switch gears. That's executive order by the president. What does it mean for the oil and gas industry? Join us again.